Nerdrotic.com.
And we are back after San Diego Comic-Con, a day late, but not a dollar short. My name is Gary Buechler. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from Nerdrotic.com. And I am with my co-host, as always, who I just saw like a day ago in person, Dennis Bithoulkas. What is up, dude?
Nothing much, man. Glad you survived the trip back, the long, arduous drive back.
Up the ass crack of California? Yes.
Yep.
Driving through hell itself. I made it. I got my preacher collar on.
The sweaty ass crack of California.
It was a sweaty ass crack, too. It was 103 on the way up and muggy and just nasty. And that's not even counting the nastiness from San Diego. Apparently, we just came back from Comic-Con. That's why we're a day late on this broadcast. Had a great time as usual. Dennis got to see some pretty amazing stuff that we'll talk about a little later on in this podcast, including I guess a new thing at Comic-Con, the mid-season trailer that they gave a little preacher stuff that it'll actually lead in the next episode. That's why I want to kind of save it till the end. But we saw a lot of cool stuff, and we're going to save. We've got a couple other podcasts that we did a recap that'll be going up on our website. And then Dennis and I will be doing our flagship later this week, talking about all the other big news from Con and stuff from the floor that you might not have heard on the inter of nets. So let's get going on this, dude. This episode picked up much better. I liked last week's episode, but it was a little slow, and I think a lot of people agree. We were at Preacher Season 2, Episode 6, I'm going to say Sokosha. I'm not very good at Japanese, so apologies. And was it Sokosha that translated into Soul Happy Go-Go?
Yeah,
I don't know if it did. That was so funny. So it starts out with an armored car and a Japanese man who was in Heroes. He played, oh my God, what was...
he played Hero's friend.
Hero from Hero's friend. And he was basically a man was giving up 15% of his soul, which he was not going to miss, to pay off his mortgage, which, sign me up. 15%, you're not even going to miss it.
You won't even notice.
I won't even notice. I only got 8 years to go, so what the hell? But I was kind of wondering where the hell this was going, and with they also did, the second one has to have more meaning than just what they laid out in the episode. I thought it was cool that he went to a second location, which I almost thought the scene was going on too long, and maybe showing the good side of it. What he did was he took the soul from that man. It was a match, and what they do is they make it a consumable, and he gave it to a man's wife who was suffering from dementia. She was watering her plants without her pants on, and it was like really kind of a sad freaking scene, and it brought her dementia back. So pieces of soul can bring back dementia. So I don't know. Do you think this guy's working? Yeah. I want to go right there. Do you think he's working for the devil? Do you think that's Lucifer?
No, I don't think it's Lucifer. Because otherwise he would have been afraid of Jesse. I mean, completely afraid of Jesse, and he didn't seem to be afraid of Jesse at all.
No, and we're getting ahead of ourselves. But when Jesse does confront him, he does say, "Do you know who I work for?" So that's why I automatically went there. But it could be something. It could be the Grail. It could be a lot of other things. So the episode starts out innocently enough. They're making breakfast. What was Tulip making again?
She was making pancakes with M&Ms and.
Okay.
Basically, the reason why everyone was adding all the crap onto their pancakes is because the joke is she's a very horrible cook.
Yes. Wow. The whole girlfriend's a horrible cook thing. It's never happened before. But, it was okay. We learned a lot this episode. For one, did you not think of our co-host John when Cassidy was talking about reality television and how it's the index survey of the human experience? I don't know if you caught that. It was.
I didn't catch that actually.
Okay, so the Saint of Killers is with Victor's daughter, and she's leading him to Jesse, and they're just having basic meandering conversation over Tulip's horrible cooking. And I had my closed captions on, so you can you could read everything. Cassidy was just going on and on, and I couldn't write it all down. But if you guys didn't catch it, go back and rewatch the episode with closed caps and just catch everything Cassidy says, because it's fucking comedy gold. But my favorite one was, Tulip was asking him what kind of TV shows he watches. I watch fat people at pawn shops and fat people fixing motorcycles, and lots of reality TV. And then that's what he said. It's an index survey of the human experience. I had to write that, and I thought of our friend John Reed, who he might not talk about it on these podcasts. He is obsessed with reality TV. I mean, he still watches Survivor and Big Brother.
Yes.
I mean, does anybody still watch that? I guess some people do. It's still on the air, but
not really. It's on like a pay service, and that's what he pays for.
Big Brother's on pay service. Okay.
Yeah. The CBS Access.
Oh, CBS Access, which is going to have that wonderful Star Trek series that we both are going to love so much. So the Saint of Killers, the girl, the daughter doesn't know exactly what apartment she causes the death of about 8 or 9 people.
Actually, I think she knew what apartment they were in, and because he had spared her father, I think that's the reason why she put the Saint of all killers down the end of the hall, the opposite end of the hall, to give them time.
That's nice of you to think. I think she just didn't know and wanted to get the fuck out of there. But you could be right. And
she looked at the door first. She looks at their door first, and then she looks down at the other door first.
Okay. So she points them to the wrong one. So she gets at least we know of 3 people killed, 1 guy beheaded. He did pull his sword, which I have been waiting for all season. I wanted to see a little sword death. We didn't get to see it, but it insinuated. So the Saint of Killers, and he fires a couple shots, and it shoots through all the rooms, and that's where you get the meandering conversation with Cassidy, and Jesse notices like something weird about the fridge, and he opens the fridge and sees one of the bullets, kind of figures it out. They get the hell out of Dodge. Before all that happens, there's a sweet little scene where Cassidy shows Dennis how to tie his shoes, because Dennis never knew how to.
Out. Yeah, he's helping him out because Dennis is wheezing a lot, and he's trying to bend over to tie his shoe. Can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he shows him the loop thing, and almost insinuated like he never even showed him. Which we don't want to bury the lead. Dennis is Cassidy's kid. I can't say I'm not surprised. No, you are Cassidy's kid. This Dennis is Cassidy's kid. And what a horrible he is. No, yes. that was I'm not surprised. I can't say I totally expected it, but I'm sure there's people out there who did. But it was kind of a humanizing scene for the vampire, don't you think? I thought it was it was kind of cool, and then kind of fucked up because obviously he's a terrible father. I mean, the worst dad ever. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I thought that was pretty cool. So the Saint of Killers finally meets Jesse, and it's a long time coming, and we finally find out, in the long run, why Jesse has no power over him, and it's the Saint of Killers has no soul. So he's
the only being in the universe that has no soul.
And with his origin, they're sticking pretty close to the comic book, which is really cool. And I love how they did the research. They were trying to figure out. They knew the Saint of Killers was after him. They got confirmation that Fiora's dead. They called the hotel, and they decided to go to the library. Very very Doctor Who thing to do. Let's go read some books for research. And of course we have Cassidy reading comic books, Tulip doing a book on tape, and then Jesse's reading the book. And they all get it. We get dude. The best part of this show was the romance novel cover.
Yes.
With the Saint of Killers. So we get a background on the Saint of Killers through romance novels, comics, and an audiobook overflow. We find, we already kind of knew his origin, but that's when we find out he's got no soul.
And remember, their panels from the comic book were actually taken from the Preacher comic book itself.
Yes. And they actually showed the Glenn Fabray cover of the Saint of Killers comic, which was just rad. And I loved when they were talking about maybe he's got a weakness. Superman's got kryptonite, Spider-Man's got his Mary Jane, but actually he doesn't, thanks to One More Day, Joe Quesada. podcast for another day. And then, we get so the Santa Killer meets Jesse, but did you think it was kind of weird that he just kind of took the deal? He meets he confronts
Not
him.
really.
You don't think so?
Because the whole thing, he knows that Jesse's out there. He's not running from him. He's looking for something. He knows Jesse's looking for something, and he knows that Jesse has the power of God. Basically comparable to God. And so, with Jesse telling him, hey, there's no God up there that's going to let you in. And he's not there. And the reason why he wants that piece of soul is so he can go and check for himself. That's the only way he can do it. And so of course he's going to take the deal. But he should have known that Jesse was going to two-time him at some point, and sure enough.
He did fuck him over. And there is something particular about that location he took him to. But first, they forgot about Dennis when they escaped the Santa Killers. They forgot about Dennis, and he's what lured him back. And basically, I guess maybe he took part of the deal because Jesse came to him. He's all, listen, just leave, because he has Dennis hostage, and he said, yeah, okay, I'll come back. And he uses the voice, and he's got video evidence, but I'm just surprised the Santa Killers just didn't pop him right there, because that's usually what he would do. But having that power probably makes him think twice about it. I don't know. There was a couple things that happened that were just a little too convenient. But maybe because it's funny is they were still rolling credits, like 15 minutes into the episode on the bottom. Yeah. And that's what kind of threw me off. I'm like, God, it seems like the episode's been going on for a while, but there's still credits on the bottom, but they spread it out quite a bit. This was a long episode too. This was longer than normal. I think this was almost a full hour.
Well, not only that, what was I going to say? Now I blanked on it. Wow. Now I just completely blanked on it. Never mind what I was going to say. Obviously, it wasn't that important.
I guess not. So what Jesse finds out is what through their research is that the Santa Killers needs a soul to get into heaven. He's not allowed to get into heaven without a soul. So conveniently, we have the Happy Soul Go-Go, or what is it? Soul Happy Go-Go.
Soul Happy Go-Go, yeah.
And so he goes to, so Jesse has to, the deal is you got an hour to find a soul, or, I'm going to kill you all. And he has to leave Cassidy, Dennis, and Tulip behind with the Santa Killers, who just goes to sleep in the kitchen while they're all freaking out. And they have 1 hour. And Jesse runs to what I was hoping would be Papa Midnight, but it wasn't. We can't have a crossover, even though it is a Vertigo character. But I think they made a slight reference to a Papa Midnight there, didn't you? Did you get that?
Yeah, it was Papa Goodell or something like that. It started with a G, and honestly, that's a lot of hoodoo, the voodoo kind of stuff. The Houdin, I think, is what they call them. It's been a while since I've actually followed any of that kind of stuff, and they're usually called Papa whatever.
Yep. But it just made me think of Papa Midnight from Constantine, who we love very much. And he finds out that the soul trade is kind of gone to the damn Japanese because they've brought it down. They've fractioned it, which is genius, by the way. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of smart, by the way. And it put me straight out of business. And the bolt, the armored truck just happens to be there. So Jesse calls Tulip and asks him what do you know how to get in an armored car? And she's like, do you got fertilizer and all the, she starts naming all this shit. And of course he doesn't have it. But he did have kind of a burner phone. He was using a flip phone right there. So, and of course he builds the bomb in record time. He runs out of the house, gets to the armored car, builds the bomb in like 12 minutes.
A little bit more time than that because the armored car wasn't really moving anywhere. They were eating lunch still. That was the other thing too, is the armored car is soundproof. So Jesse's trying to use the voice to try and get them to open the door. And of course they can't hear him, so they're just kind of like flipping him off, saying, "Yeah, get the hell away." And so he has a little bit of time to go and grab stuff, because down there where there's, I guess he finds a, like a garden supply place, and just grabs most of the stuff that he needs and everything. And of course it doesn't
in 12 minutes. Okay, even in 20 minutes, that's record time. I can't tie my shoes in 20 minutes, but good for him. TV time is good. So that doesn't work. He eventually gets a cop to pull him over, and they get in. And I don't know, this whole, I just think it would have been easier just to summon a cop going, "Cop, come here." So the power is limited, obviously, by you have to actually hear it. Okay. So I'm just wondering how this is going to play into the episode. I hope this isn't like, this is just a one-off. We're going to see this soldier. I hope this leads to something else, because it'd really be weird to pull this in and just not have it. It's too convenient. So hopefully they're leading us towards something else. And they definitely are with where they took the Saint of Killers. So Jesse, they can't find the soul has to match, by the way. It's like an organ. And it turns out that Jesse's soul matches the Saint of Killers. Big surprise there. And Jesse gives
unique.
What was that?
It had to be a unique soul. The Saint of Killers had a unique soul, so the soul that needed to replace it had to be unique as well, which Jesse, of course, had a unique soul.
Yes. Well, I think it's probably like having a unique blood type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably because he's got the, maybe it changed. Maybe having the voice, the power changes your soul. Well, obviously it changes his soul. So he's a match. He gives his minimum amount, 1%. You won't even miss it, he says. And the Saint of Killers takes it. He saves Tulip and Cassidy. And Dennis was sick the whole time because he lost his inhaler.
And Cassidy even loses his fingers because the Saint of Killers is about to chop. And Cassidy actually grabs on saber with his hands, and his fingers get cut off. He's about to swing down the saber. That's when Jesse bursts in and saves the day.
Yeah, right after we get to see the gross, slow cutting of Cassidy's fingers off, which looked pretty good, actually. That was a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
Oh, and did you ever think about Cassidy had a son and never bothered to learn his son's language? I just thought of that. What a dick. What a son of a bitch. All the time in the world, I never learned French for my own son. That's so funny and terrible.
Another thing that was kind of weird was when the Saint of Killers actually is holding them, hostage, if you will. And Tulip goes up and she's trying to get Dennis some medical attention. And she's trying to convince the Saint of Killers to let Dennis go so that he can go and get help. And she tries to appeal to the Saint of Killers by saying, I read about your daughter. I'm really sorry. And that's when he picks her up. He just grabs her by the throat and picks her up. And afterwards, she seems really freaked out.
Yeah, really freaked out.
I don't know if it was his touch or what, but I'm hoping they kind of go back and explain a little bit of that one, because it just seemed kind of odd.
Well, yeah, and the scenes they mentioned, because Tulip doesn't. I mean, Tulip's been strangled before and in headlocks, and she hasn't been. So, and they even show in the scenes for next week her flashing back to that. So there must be something with his touch that, you get marked or something, maybe, or
maybe some of the people online were saying maybe it's the stench of hell, since he'd been in hell for so long, that she kind of got that,
kind of like con crud when you're at
kind of like
con. It's kind of like getting the con crud. Google the con crud if you don't know what we're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
You're infected by it and infect somebody else a little bit. You give a little bit out.
Okay, so it's kind of like passing on depression or darkness, or whatever, darkness of a soul or the lack of a soul, maybe being touched by something with it. Yeah, exactly. yeah, that shit, you can't get rid of it either. It's like luggage. Was that the
Yeah.
is that the Robin Williams joke? Can't get that shit. It's like
Herpes,
luggage.
it's like luggage. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jesse, of course, being Jesse, and not a very good preacher, by the way. Lures. So he gives him the consumable 1% of his soul, and that now gives Jesse power over him. He disarms him, lures into an armored car, and drops him into a swamp. Now,
a whole bunch of more souls too.
Whoa, I didn't even think about that. There's a bunch of souls in that with the Saint of Killers.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That means somebody's going to be going after it. Somebody's going to be looking for it, and maybe he can get that. I don't know, but I was more concerned with the location. He went out into the swamps, and all I was thinking about was Angelville.
Well, yeah, he passed a sign that said Angelville.
Yeah. So, that's. And then Tulip even's like, how do you know about all this shit? And he's all family business. So, Chris is going to get his wish, and it's going to be our wish as well. I think that's coming up in the next couple episodes, and I can't fucking wait. This is going to ramp into gear. And I think I made a mistake earlier. I said there was only like 11 episodes. This is a 13 episode season this season.
Yeah,
13 episodes.
So. Yeah.
And that is great. It's been a really good season so far. Even the slow episodes are still entertaining as hell. And again, hats off to Seth Rogen, dude, a guy who I liked him in a couple movies. But I think his creative work is actually quite good. I love the aesthetic of this show, and I give him all the credit. Is it Evan Goldberg is his partner's name, and then the other guy who's a producer from was it Breaking Bad or
Breaking Bad? Yes.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
He's the showrunner.
Yeah, dude, it's the quality of the show is phenomenal. I mean, and the writing is great, but it looks so pretty. It does, and like it just feels like the comic book. And I'm rereading the comic book now, and I'm like, I look forward to it every night. Every night, I look forward to reading my 1 or 2 Preacher books before I go to bed. And it's because of this show, and I hope more people are running out and getting the graphic novels, because as great as the show is, the source material is always better. Comics are the perfect medium. Hell, we might even we might even start reviewing comics on this channel at some point. So you never know. You never know. I don't know. What do you think overall, Dennis?
I'm liking it. I'm glad they breathed a little bit more life. We got away from Victor.
Yeah.
And as much as we want to know about Tulip's backstory, it didn't need to be that involved with Victor. Like we were saying before, half an episode to an episode at the most, and that's it. At least we got, we had a nice little bookend. We got the Santa Killers in. His daughter, Allie, was the one that brought him into picture. And, we got a nice little, I was wondering where they were going with the Soul Happy Go-Go when they were first showing it, but that's the setup. So we find out how all this stuff is going to happen. I can't wait for Hair Star myself.
Yeah, and this is a good point to talk about. You got to go to the Preacher panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and you saw a mid-season trailer. Talk to us real quick about the panel and the trailer.
So it actually wasn't a trailer. It was a clip of Hair Star's, basically it's a flashback to Hair Star becoming the head of the Grail and the trials that he went through. Fucking hilarious. And it's just basically all these guys that are standing in their underwear, and there's these guys in these white suits, and they're talking about how you're going to be going through this trial and blah blah blah, and how only there's only be one that passes. The trials are going to be very arduous. That's why you sign this release and everything like that. Are any questions? And Hair Star raises his hand. He goes, yes. He goes, do you validate parking? And the guy goes, no, we don't. And he goes, for $17 an hour, you don't validate parking. He goes, I'm here on my own time. He goes, if I knew that beforehand, I would have gotten street parking. So if you had told me that, he's going over this, and he's just bitching about it the entire time. And they go, validate this man's parking. That's how it starts off.
That is great.
And I mean, the thing is, they're panning across everyone's chests because everyone's bare chested. They're just in their underwear, and they come to Hair Star, and he's got 2 nipple rings with a chain going across them too. The only person who's got any kind of jewelry. So that's the other thing that starts off, and I mean, it just gets worse from there. I mean, I'm just gonna go into one more scene, and that's about it because I don't want to ruin the entire thing. But they're doing the battle. Basically, they're saying, "Okay, we're going to see how you survive hand-to-hand combat." And so the first guy who comes out, he gets choked out, goes down. They eliminate him. And I'm like, okay, Hair Star, you're next. So he comes out, and there's this big guy who's, fighting them. And he grabs onto Hair Star by the neck. And he goes, I want you to know. First he says, before he does anything, he goes, I want you to know, I take no pleasure in this. And he starts fighting the guy. The guy gets him in a headlock. And also you see Hair Star pull down his pants. And you see the hand doing this kind of thing, moving. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I am self-emulating myself. And I'm like, oh my God, let's go. And then Hair Star punches him in the throat, knocks him down. And they're like, very good. Knocks the guy down to the ground. And they're like, very good. This is a lesson to all of you. By doing something very, shocking, you can actually distract your foe and take him down. And Hair Star, by the time he's walked off panel, you see the guy standing there, and you see the one guy down on the mat. And Hair Star comes back with a big iron pipe and starts beating the crap out of the guy while he's on the ground. Just keeps beating the crap out of him. And it's just like, okay. They grab him. They're like, you can stop now.
Oh,
yeah. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's good shit. That's good shit. And cool. So did we get anything out of the panel, out of the Q&A that stood out, or is it just more of this is a really fun show, I love the creative people, and you're really gonna like it, Comic-Con, woo?
Yeah, they gave a little bit of the motivation of the characters. I actually put up the videos of Ruth Negga talking, and I can't remember the guy who plays Cassidy's name now. Gillian? Yes. So a little bit about his, talking about the characters and some of the scenes and things like that. I didn't get any of Dominic Cooper, unfortunately, because he had talked. I came in about 10 minutes after the panel had started.
Okay. And where did you put these videos up, Dennis?
I put them up on nerdrotic.com. If you come to our Facebook site and you take a look at Nerdrotic Podcast, you can actually find us there. And all those videos are up on our site there. And we're going to put them again on Facebook as well. And once we rip them and put them all together and stick them up there as well.
Yeah, we're going to put a compilation together that goes along with our podcast. It's actually just going to be a big, huge thing. And you could just look for our San Diego Comic-Con wrap-up. But when we have Happy, and Dennis put just a ton of stuff up today, and he's put it up last couple days. Rob from Rob Has a Podcast was brought on by John Reed, and they recapped day 1 and 2, which is a great podcast. And then Dennis and I were with John to recap Saturday. Nothing much happened Sunday. I mean, there's some Doctor Who stuff, and we didn't cover it. So
we did have the Warner Brothers booth got closed down because people rushed the booth for T-shirts, of all things.
Oh, I did not hear about this. Talk about it. Really? Oh,
yeah. I knew some people that were in line, and they're waiting for the T-shirts, and I guess some people in the line got a little overly rambunctious and started to rush the booth.
Well, that's not the first time it's happened. Remember that infamous con? It was the Hasbro line where a woman in a wheelchair was knocked over by a bunch of dorks on a preview night trying to get an Hasbro exclusive Batman. And I had to chastise about 30 people. And and they didn't even care. I mean, I'm picking up on that, and nobody even stopped to help her. It was not a good look for us nerds at all. And
Security closed it down completely and said, "Nope, we're done. We're not having this."
Oh yeah, was this inside the con or outside?
Yeah, inside the con.
Inside the con. Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys got it. And you know, we'll talk about this. A con has turned into something quite different from what we started in. And there's always people who complain about, hey, this year it was somebody's greatest con ever. It was somebody's worst con ever. We hear it every year. It is getting a bit crowded though. That is a fact. I mean, it gets more crowded every year. And I know the fire marshal allowed some more people in this year, and it was definitely, you could tell, because usually there's parts of the hall like where you get some freedom, you know, like unfortunately it's the comic book end, but that didn't even happen this year. I mean, like it took you a half an hour just to get out of that place.
And you know, the Hall H wristbands?
Yes.
They got, somebody actually counterfeited them for Sunday. And I think it was Sunday. And so 500 of them, basically were counterfeit.
And you didn't even need to on Sunday. You could have walked right in.
And that was the funny thing, was that those 500 people now have free passes, 4-day passes and preview night passes for next year from Comic-Con, because they got screwed over of getting into Hall H.
Really?
Because of the counterfeit.
Which they could have probably walked into anyway. Well, that's taking advantage. That's 50 less people who could go.
500.
500?
Yes.
500 people.
Yes.
500 people have Comic-Con passes.
Yep.
Shit. Well, you know, yeah, I still am undecided if I'm going back next year or not. I think I'd rather go to Chicago or New York, check out a con that's different, because, you know, I mean, you know, but, you know, I say that every year and then we end up going back. So fuck it. That's a good time. It's a good time. If you haven't done it, definitely go. It is. If you're into this stuff, it's your Mecca. You need to go there. You need to check it out. Honestly, you could make the trip out of San Diego down to San Diego and not go inside at all and have just a good time. The outside stuff is getting quite good. Now, some of it, you know, I think people got their expectations a bit high. I think the Game of Thrones thing, you know, there was people waiting in a long line and they were bitching and moaning about it. But if you actually were a real Game of Thrones fan, you would have known that thing has been at other places, and you would have known what it was, which is just a door with a trailer. That was it, you know.
I heard that the Westworld experience was awesome, but they were only letting 100 people in.
That was amazing. Yep. Well, you know, Westworld has got quite the hype, and it's going to need it because it's not premiering till October 2018.
Yes.
2 years between seasons. That's a risk. That's a big risk. We'll see about that.
I just put up the season 2 teaser trailer, and it looks really good.
Oh, it looks really good, but I mean, 2 years between TV seasons.
Yeah,
it could work. Like I said, it's a gamble. It could work.
I'll wait for it. I'll wait for it.
I will too, but we're fans. I'm talking about general public will just forget about it to go, oh, was that show still on? You know, and that's the casual fan. I can see where they're going with this, because as production values go up, this is the new movie. Okay. I think the 2-hour film format is in big trouble as far as big box office shit. I think it's in big trouble. And I think Preachers, your Westworlds, Game of Thrones, I think that's the future. And as production values go up, you might see not a season every year, a season every year and a half, maybe season every 2 years. I would rather wait 2 years for a 10-episode season of something that absolutely kicked ass than a 2-hour movie. I mean,
yeah,
you know, so I think that's the future. And on that note, you can find all of our podcasts and recaps for all of these shows that are cool on nerdrotic.com. Dennis handles our Nerdrotic podcast Facebook page. He does a great job, posts stuff every day, a lot of news. I highly recommend you like us and check it out. Dennis is pretty early on a lot of stuff too. He really catches a lot of stuff early. We also have a YouTube channel, which is the Nerdrotic channel, and that's where we do all of our recaps. We have a flagship podcast that's mainly on our website, and we're going to be doing episode 103. It's been going on we've been doing this for almost 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. So not our first rodeo. The YouTube channel is about a year old now. It's growing quite nice. So we thank all of you for watching and subscribing. And for those of you who comment, I found a way to get to them at work. So I'm going to start responding to you all. We really appreciate your comments. I'm not ignoring you. I do read them. And those of you who subscribe, thank you so much. If you did comment on the Preacher podcast, you are in the running for a signed Preacher #1 by Steve Dillon. Haven't forgot that. So, yeah, Dennis, take us out.
Don't know. Steve Dillon has passed away. So
yes, the late Steve Dillon.
Yes, the late Steve Dillon. So on that note, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
And may the small folks sing songs of your greatness. See you next week on time.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic podcast. Please subscribe.